Imagine standing in the middle of a field in the mid-1970s, the sound of diesel engines roaring across the countryside, and one tractor turning every head it passed. The International Harvester 1066 wasn't just another machine. It was a revolution on four massive wheels. Farmers who got behind its wheel felt like they had entered a new era of farming power, and decades later, collectors and enthusiasts still talk about it with awe. But how much do you really know about this legendary tractor? Hidden behind its bold red paint are fascinating stories, unexpected engineering decisions, and surprising details that most people, even tractor fans, have never heard of. Today, we're uncovering 20 weird facts about the International Harvester 1066 that you didn't know. By the end of this video, you'll see the 1066 in a way you never imagined. Ready? Let's dive into the first fact. 1. A record-breaking bestseller. When International Harvester released the 1066 in 1971, it wasn't just another addition to their lineup, it became their all-time best-selling tractor in the 100-plus horsepower range. Farmers across the United States, especially in the Midwest, lined up to purchase this powerhouse. By the time production ended in 1976, more than 50,000 units had been sold, a staggering number for tractors in that era. What made it so popular? The 1066 hit the sweet spot. It had the right balance of horsepower, durability, and price point. Competing models from John Deere and Massey Ferguson couldn't quite match its combination of raw pulling strength and reliability in the field. For farmers, the 1066 was more than a machine. It was an investment that promised and delivered years of productivity. This overwhelming success is why the 1066 is often remembered as the tractor that saved International Harvester's dominance in the 1970s. 2. The DT414 turbocharged diesel engine. At the heart of the International Harvester 1066 was its legendary DT414 turbocharged diesel engine. This six-cylinder powerhouse delivered 125 horsepower at the PTO, which was considered massive at the time. What really stood out, however, was the way this engine handled heavy loads. Farmers reported that it just wouldn't quit, whether it was pulling a plow through stubborn soil or running grain augers all day long. The turbocharger gave it an extra kick that competitors struggled to match. Even more fascinating, the engine was built with enough strength to handle far more power than it was rated for, making it a favorite among tractor pullers who modified the 1066 for competition. Many of these tractors were tuned to push well beyond 200 horsepower without breaking a sweat. The DT414 wasn't just an engine, it was a legend in its own right, and it's one of the reasons collectors still chase the 1066 today. 3. A symbol of IH's iconic red. One of the things that made the 1066 instantly recognizable was its bold, striking red paint, known as International Harvester Red. This color wasn't just for looks. It became part of IH's branding identity during the 1970s. The 1066 embodied the company's image of strength and reliability, and its presence in fields across America cemented IH's dominance. Interestingly, some farmers claimed that the bright red paint seemed to age better than the green of John Deere, giving the 1066 a longer-lasting showroom shine. Over the years, countless photographs of the 1066 appeared in farm magazines, showing off its massive stance and that unmistakable red. Today, fully restored 1066 tractors with a fresh coat of authentic IH red are prized at auctions, often fetching prices that rival or exceed brand-new modern tractors. The red wasn't just paint. It was a symbol of pride and power for every farmer who owned one. 4. The deluxe cab controversy. When the 1066 was first introduced, it was offered with a deluxe cab option. At the time, enclosed cabs were still considered something of a luxury. Farmers were used to operating open-station tractors, enduring dust, rain, and blistering sun. The deluxe cab promised comfort, but in reality, it was controversial. While it did shield operators from the weather, it had poor ventilation and noise levels that were almost unbearable. Farmers joked that it was like sitting inside a tin can with a jet engine roaring outside. The irony is that while the cab was meant to improve comfort, many operators preferred sticking with the open station just to avoid the deafening noise. Still, the 1066 helped push the industry toward better cab designs, forcing manufacturers to rethink operator comfort. By the late 1970s, cabs became more advanced, and the 1066 is remembered as a stepping stone toward the modern air-conditioned tractor cabs we take for granted today. 5. The Black Stripe Edition. In 1976, as production of the 1066 was nearing its end, International Harvester released a special version that collectors today call the Black Stripe Edition. Unlike earlier models that had the traditional white side panels and grille, this version featured a bold black decal stripe running along the hood and sides, giving the tractor a sleeker and more aggressive look. For farmers, this cosmetic change seemed minor at the time, but it ended up becoming one of the most recognizable styling updates in IH history. The black stripe models were among the very last 1066 tractors built, making them highly collectible today. Restorers and auctioneers often highlight the black stripe label, and fans are willing to pay premium prices for authentic ones. What's ironic is that International Harvester didn't realize they were creating a future collector's item. It was simply a branding update. Yet today, spotting a black stripe 1066 at a farm show is like seeing a piece of farming royalty. 6. A tractor built for pulling. While the 1066 was designed as a workhorse for the farm, it quickly found a second life in the world of tractor pulling competitions. Thanks to its sturdy frame and overbuilt DT414 engine, the 1066 could handle modifications that pushed it far beyond its factory horsepower rating. Pullers often added larger turbochargers, fuel pumps, and custom transmissions, turning these tractors into roaring beasts that belched black smoke and thrilled crowds. The 1066 became so dominant in pulling circuits during the late 1970s and 1980s that it earned a reputation as one of the greatest competition tractors of all time. Even today, modified versions of the 1066 still appear in pulling events, proving the lasting durability of the original design. Farmers loved that their everyday work tractor could double as a weekend showstopper, adding a sense of pride that connected the 1066 to both hard work and pure entertainment. 7. The price tag that shocked farmers. When the International Harvester 1066 debuted in 1971, its base price was just under $20,000 USD, a staggering sum at the time. Many farmers were shocked, claiming it was too expensive for a tractor, especially when compared to earlier models that cost half as much. But IH argued that the 1066's higher horsepower and longer lifespan justified the investment. In truth, many who bought one discovered it paid for itself over time with increased efficiency and reduced downtime. Adjusted for inflation, that price tag would be equivalent to more than $140,000 today, making the 1066 a serious purchase even by modern standards. Yet despite the initial hesitation, demand was overwhelming, and IH had trouble keeping up with orders. The price shock soon turned into pride for owners, as the 1066 proved to be worth every penny. Today, collectors are happy to pay similar amounts at auctions for restored units, proof that quality stands the test of time. 8. The hydraulic power advantage. Another standout feature of the 1066 was its advanced hydraulic system. Farmers needed tractors that could handle an ever-growing list of implements, from plows to loaders to balers. The 1066 came equipped with a powerful hydraulic pump that delivered enough flow to operate heavy-duty equipment with ease. At the time, this was a game changer. Competing tractors often had weaker hydraulic systems, forcing farmers to struggle with slower response times or less lifting power. The 1066 made these tasks smoother, faster, and more reliable. Operators reported that attaching hydraulic tools felt almost effortless compared to earlier tractors. This advantage not only increased productivity, but also solidified the 1066's reputation as a versatile machine. Decades later, farmers still talk about how the 1066 could handle nearly anything thrown at it. In many ways, the hydraulic power of the 1066 foreshadowed the advanced multi-hydraulic systems we see in today's modern tractors. 9. Operator. Comfort beyond the cab. Although the deluxe cab had its flaws, International Harvester still made real strides in operator comfort with the 1066. Even in the open station versions, the seat was redesigned for better cushioning, and the controls were laid out in a way that reduced fatigue during long working days. Small touches like easier access to levers and pedals, plus improved visibility over the hood, gave farmers a sense that IH cared about the human side of farming. Compared to earlier models, the 1066 felt modern and more ergonomic, even if it wasn't perfect. These improvements may seem minor today, but at the time they were revolutionary. The 1066 helped set the stage for operator-friendly designs that are now standard. Many farmers who used the 1066 in the 1970s recall that it was the first tractor where they felt like the machine was designed for them, not just for the field. 10. A tractor that refused to die. One of the strangest and most admirable things about the 1066 is its sheer longevity. Many tractors from the 1970s have long since been retired to scrap yards, but thousands of 1066 are still running strong today. Farmers joke that the 1066 was overbuilt, with components so tough that they could withstand decades of abuse. Even engines with tens of thousands of hours often just needed a rebuild to keep going. Collectors love to point out that many 1066 tractors are still in daily use on farms across North America, more than 50 years after they rolled off the assembly line. Few machines in the agricultural world can claim that level of staying power. This durability turned the 1066 into more than a tractor. It became a symbol of reliability that families passed down from one generation to the next. It's no wonder the 1066 is remembered as one of the greatest tractors IH ever built. 11. The 1066 in movies and pop culture. It might surprise you, but the International Harvester 1066 didn't just dominate fields. It even showed up in pop culture. While not as famous as cars from Hollywood blockbusters, the 1066 appeared in farm documentaries, promotional films, and even local TV ads that celebrated the strength of American agriculture. In some rural communities, the 1066 became a background character in county fair parades or tractor shows, often polished and showcased with pride. What really cemented its place in culture, though, was its reputation. Farmers told stories of their 1066 tractors like legends, machines that pulled more than they should, worked longer than expected, and simply refused to break. Over time, this storytelling gave the 1066 a mythical status that spread far beyond the farms. Today, it's common to see 1066-inspired merchandise, caps, t-shirts, die-cast toys, sold at farm supply stores. The tractor's fame went from practical to cultural, turning the 1066 into a genuine icon of the 1970s farming era. 12. A rivalry with John Deere. No story about the International Harvester 1066 would be complete without mentioning its fierce rivalry with John Deere, especially the Deere 4430. Farmers debated endlessly in coffee shops, fairs, and farm supply stores. Was the IH 1066 or the Deere 4430 the better tractor? The Deere had smoother ergonomics and often quieter operation, but the 1066 had raw pulling power and durability that Deere sometimes struggled to match. This rivalry went far beyond the machines. It became a cultural divide. Families often chose sides, proudly wearing either red or green gear. For many, the 1066 represented toughness and grit, while Deere symbolized refinement and comfort. The competition between the two companies pushed both to innovate, leading to better tractors for everyone. Decades later, the debate continues among collectors. Ask any farmer who grew up in the 1970s and you'll likely hear a passionate defense of their brand. For many, the 1066 wasn't just a tractor, it was part of their identity. 13. The mystery of serial numbers. Collectors of the International Harvester 1066 often obsess over serial numbers, and for good reason. The 1066 was produced from 1971 to 1976, and each year's production had unique identifiers stamped on the tractor. Enthusiasts today carefully track these numbers to determine the exact year of manufacture, which can significantly affect a tractor's value. For example, late production black stripe models command far higher prices than early runs, and serial numbers are the key to proving authenticity. There's also a bit of mystery surrounding some transitional models built when IH switched factories or made small updates. These in-between tractors can be confusing for collectors, as they sometimes carry features from two different production years. This serial number fascination has turned the 1066 into more than a piece of equipment. It's a detective puzzle for enthusiasts. Finding a rare number can feel like discovering buried treasure, and it keeps the excitement alive at auctions and tractor shows. 14. Exported worldwide. While the 1066 is most famous in North America, it was also exported to countries around the globe, making it an international success story. Farmers in Canada, Australia, and parts of Europe imported the tractor for its unmatched horsepower in the early 1970s. In some regions, the 1066 had to be slightly modified to meet local farming needs. Different tires, lighting systems, or hydraulic adjustments. Surprisingly, it even gained popularity in countries with smaller farms, where its size was considered massive, but its pulling ability was unmatched. Exporting the 1066 helped International Harvester strengthen its brand presence overseas, competing directly with European manufacturers like Fiat and Massey Ferguson on their home turf. Today, collectors sometimes import 1066 back into the United States, where they are restored and displayed as global icons of farming. The fact that this tractor found fans thousands of miles from Illinois speaks volumes about its universal appeal. The 1066 truly carried American farming power around the world. 15. A collector's dream. Decades after its release, the International Harvester 1066 has become one of the most sought-after classic tractors for collectors. Restored models regularly fetch tens of thousands of dollars at auctions, with pristine black stripe versions commanding the highest premiums. Collectors are drawn not only to the machine's power and reliability, but also to its emotional value. For many, the 1066 represents memories of childhood, working on the farm with parents or grandparents, or seeing the tractor dominate fields during harvest season. Restoring one has become a labor of love for enthusiasts, who often spend years tracking down original parts, decals, and paint to bring the tractor back to life. The collector community is strong, with forums, Facebook groups, and clubs dedicated entirely to IH tractors. Owning a 1066 is no longer just about farming. It's about preserving a piece of history and proudly displaying a symbol of agricultural heritage. 16. Advanced transmission options. One of the key selling points of the 1066 was its transmission system, which offered multiple configurations that gave farmers flexibility. Most 1066 tractors came with the Torquey Amplifier, TA, essentially a shift-on-the-go system that allowed operators to change speeds under load without using the clutch. This was revolutionary for the early 1970s, as it meant smoother transitions and less downtime in the field. Farmers praised the TA for making plowing and heavy pulling easier, but it also had a reputation for needing careful maintenance. Some operators wore out their TA units faster than expected, while others kept them running strong for decades. The debate over the TA system is still alive in collector circles today. Was it IH's greatest innovation, or its most fragile component? Regardless, the advanced transmission gave the 1066 a level of sophistication that most competitors couldn't match, helping to cement its legacy as a technologically forward tractor. 17. A tractor for the big farms. By the 1970s, farms in the United States were getting larger, and farmers needed bigger equipment to keep up. The 1066 was perfectly suited for this trend. With more than 125 horsepower at its disposal, it could handle wide plows, heavy discs, and other equipment designed for large-scale operations. For many farmers, Switching to a 1066 meant they could do more acres in less time, making their operations more efficient and profitable. This was especially important during the farm boom years, when demand for grain and other crops was high. The 1066 symbolized the future of farming, large, powerful, and ready to tackle endless fields. Smaller tractors couldn't keep up with the workload, and larger, more expensive four-wheel drive machines weren't always practical. The 1066 filled this gap perfectly, becoming the go-to machine for expanding farms across America. Its reputation as the right-sized big tractor still holds true in farming history. 18. Innovations in PTO power. The power takeoff PTO system on the International Harvester 1066 was another area where it excelled. Rated at 125 horsepower, the PTO gave farmers the ability to run large implements like combines, balers, and forage harvesters with consistent power delivery. Unlike some competitors, the 1066's PTO was designed to be rugged, withstanding long hours of operation without overheating or breaking down. This made it a favorite among farmers who needed dependable performance during critical harvest seasons. Interestingly, many farmers noted that the 1066 often delivered more PTO power than its official rating, a testament to IH's conservative engineering. This under-promise and over-deliver approach helped build the tractor's legendary reliability. For collectors today, a working PTO system is a big selling point, as it shows the tractor was well maintained. The strength of the 1066's PTO wasn't just about numbers, it was about trust. Farmers knew that when they hooked up equipment, the 1066 would deliver, no questions asked. 19. Legendary fuel efficiency. Despite its size and power, the 1066 was surprisingly fuel efficient for its era. The DT414 turbo diesel was engineered to extract maximum performance from every gallon of fuel, which made a huge difference for farmers facing rising diesel prices in the 1970s. Side-by-side tests often showed that the 1066 could accomplish the same amount of work as competitors while burning noticeably less fuel. Over the course of a season, this efficiency added up to serious savings. Farmers who ran multiple 1066 tractors on their operations claimed the machines practically paid for themselves in fuel savings. Even today, restored 1066 tractors are praised for how little fuel they use compared to other classics of the same era. For collectors and active farmers alike, this fuel efficiency is part of what makes the 1066 a practical and beloved machine, not just a nostalgic relic. It proved that raw power and smart efficiency could coexist in one iconic tractor. 20. The legacy of the 1066. When production ended in 1976, the International Harvester 1066 had already secured its place in farming history. More than 50,000 units had been sold, and it became the foundation for future IH models. Farmers who owned one often swore by it for life, refusing to trade it in even when newer models arrived. The 1066 came to represent more than horsepower. It symbolized an era of farming independence, growth, and pride. Many were passed down through generations, creating family stories around the tractor that still echo today. At auctions and shows, spotting a 1066 instantly sparks conversations among old farmers who recall the machine's dominance. The 1066 wasn't just a product of its time, it was a machine that defined a decade. Its balance of power, durability, and innovation made it a tractor that still earns respect nearly half a century later. Truly, the 1066 is not just a tractor, it's a legend. The International Harvester 1066 was more than just a workhorse. It was the tractor that defined a generation. From its record-breaking sales to its turbocharged engine, from its role in fierce rivalries to its lasting collector value, the 1066 carved out a reputation that few machines in farming history can match. It wasn't perfect. Its cab was noisy and its transmission sometimes stirred debate, but its strengths far outweighed its weaknesses. Farmers trusted it, families cherished it, and today collectors preserve it as a living reminder of the golden age of American agriculture. The 1066 stood at the intersection of power, efficiency, and durability, becoming both a practical tool and a cultural icon. Half a century later, it still inspires respect every time its engine fires up. The 1066 proves that true legends never fade. They keep working, generation after generation.